Hello, my name is Simon Simpley from the International Food Safety and Quality Network. Welcome to this Food Safety Essentials webinar. It's the monthly midweek webinar that we have with Tony Connor, and today it's inspections. So good afternoon, Tony. How are you doing?
Hi, Simon. Hi, everyone. I'm fine, thank you.
Very good. We've got 1,118 registered. I can see there's 150 live at the moment. You're all welcome. I'll hand you over to Tony.
Thank you, Simon. Okay, so welcome to what is our, excuse me, our 7th session of Food Safety Essentials. And what this is basically a general Q&A, food safety webinar. But what we tend to do at the start is do a short presentation on something topical. And so today's is going to be the importance of inspections in ensuring food safety. For your information, the previous Food Safety Essential webinars are on the website where you can access the recordings. So links and the topics are there. We started off with recalls, went on to looking at complaints, looked at audit non-conformances, new product development, and last time we looked at internal audits because critical and major non-conformances from SQF certification audits quite consistently come up from section 2.54, internal audits and inspections. So section 2.54, which is internal audits and inspections and is mandatory. And we covered internal audits last time, so you can refer back to that webinar if you wish. The methods and responsibility for scheduling and conducting internal audits to verify the effectiveness of the SQF system shall be documented and implemented, etc. But also in the SQF code, we've got regular inspections of the site and equipment shall be planned and carried out to verify good manufacturing practices, and facility and equipment maintenance are compliant with the SQF Food Safety Code. The site shall take corrections or corrective and preventive action and maintain records of inspections and any corrective actions taken. Records of internal audits and inspections and any corrective and preventive action taken as a result of internal audits shall be recorded. So there should be inspections of site and equipment to verify good manufacturing practices. So there needs to be relevant training for auditors and a documented procedure. The frequency of inspections should be based on risk. For open product areas, inspections need to be quite regular, often monthly or more often. And inspections in high care and high risk areas are likely to be more frequent. So here in this chart, we've got we're prioritizing open products areas such as filling, mix, processing, and then raw and enclosed product areas such as intake, packing, storage, and then perimeter areas such as wash areas, yard, engineering. So these inspections to verify good manufacturing practices and facility and equipment maintenance are compliant. There may also be line startup checks, which could be daily or on shift changes, and can form a part of this inspection program. It's also good practice to complete inspections after activities such as maintenance. The individuals responsible for completing these inspections should be suitably trained for the systems they are checking. But staff completing hygiene and fabrication inspections do not necessarily need to have the same level of training as internal auditors. It's important that issues identified in inspections are corrected as soon as possible so product risk is minimized. Records of inspections and corrective actions should be retained. Inspection records can provide useful information to identify trends and drive improvement. So, most GFSI benchmark standards include inspections in their requirement because it's part of the GFSI Part 3 requirements for the contents of programs, with GMT being site inspections. A program of site inspections and checks shall be established, implemented and maintained to ensure the site environment and processing environment equipment are maintained in a suitable condition to ensure food safety as applicable. So if we look at the BRC Global Standard for Food Safety, in addition to the internal audit program, there shall be a separate program of documented inspections to ensure the factory environment and processing equipment are maintained in a suitable condition for food production. At a minimum, these inspections shall include hygiene inspections to assess cleaning and housekeeping performance, fabric inspections such as doors, walls, facilities and equipment to identify risks to the product from the building or equipment. The frequency of these inspections shall be based on risk and on any changes that may affect food safety, but shall be no less than 1 month in open product area. The results shall be reported to the personnel responsible for the activity or area audited. Corrective actions and timescales for their implementation shall be agreed and their completion verified. A summary of the results shall be reviewed in management reviewed meetings. For the IFS food standard, we have section 5.2.1, site and factory inspection shall be planned and carried out for certain topics, for example, like construction, status of production and storage premises, external areas, product control during processing, hygiene during processing within the infrastructure, foreign material hazards, personal hygiene. The frequency of inspections should be based on risks and on the history of previous results. For the FSSC 22,000 scheme, we have PRP verification. Excuse me a second. The organisation shall establish, implement and maintain routine monthly inspections and PRP checks to verify that the site, production environment and processing equipment are maintained in a suitable condition to ensure food safety. The frequency and content of the site inspections PRP checks shall be based on risk with defined sampling criteria and linked to the relevant technical specification. So, for most schemes, we should have inspections which include hygiene inspections to assess cleaning and housekeeping performance, fabric inspections to identify risks to the product from the building or equipment. So in preparation for inspections, we should familiarize ourselves with relevant procedures. So it could be cleaning procedures, familiarize ourselves with relevant records. And there might be standards such as for cleaning equipment that we need to be familiar with. So inspections are to verify good manufacturing practices are compliant. So when we carry out inspections, we should be looking at areas like design, construction, and layout of buildings, workspace, employee facilities, internal structure, lighting, supplies of utilities, particularly water, air quality and ventilation, drainage and waste disposal, waste control, management of surplus food. We should be looking at facilities. We should be looking at storage facilities, segregation controls. We should be looking at equipment, looking at containers, looking at transport, looking at maintenance activities, looking at pest prevention, looking at cleaning and sanitizing, looking at cleaning facilities, looking at cleaning performance, looking at environmental monitoring, looking at personal hygiene standards, looking at control of incoming materials, measures for the prevention of contamination, including microbiological, physical and chemical, looking at allergen management where appropriate. So I usually carry out inspections using a form like this, which is a factory good manufacturing audit form. It can be adapted to suit your operation. But in this case, I'm checking personal hygiene, so protective clothing such as overalls and coats, wearing of hairnets and beard snoods, the control of jewelry, footwear, hand washing. I'm looking at fabric condition, walls, floors, drains, ceiling, lighting, windows, ventilation. I'm looking at the hygiene of fabric, including those items, so walls, floors, drains, ceilings, lighting, windows, ventilation. I'm looking at waste disposal and if it's being controlled, are bins clean, covered, timely removal of waste, containers identified. I'm looking at pest control elements. I'm looking at any potential contamination risks from glass, brittle materials, chemicals, metal, wood, loose parts, overheads, leaks. I'm looking at hygiene and housekeeping of equipment, pipework, hose pipes, cleaning equipment, tanks, maintenance tools. And also I've got another section which doesn't apply to all areas, but filling areas where I'm looking at equipment and parts in those areas which are particularly important to the product's safety and quality. So I start off when I first introduce inspections with a scoring system of 1 to 3. You can expand it as your experience grows. So a score of 1 would be a major non-compliance, a score of 2 would be a minor non-compliance, and a score of 3 is compliance. So I'll just go through some examples, and I've already mentioned that in here the fabrics condition is the second section. I enter a score for walls, floors, drains, ceilings, lighting, windows and ventilation. So the score of 3 is good or compliant. A score of 2 is a minor non-compliant, and a score of 1 is a major non-compliance. So I've got a score of 1 there. So let's look at some examples of what's good or what's not good. So walls in good condition. So typically, if everything's okay, there's the walls in good condition of the right fabric and clean, and that's good. Conversely, if I've got problems with flooring where the floor's lifting and there's potential for microbiological contamination, a score of 1 or 2, depending on the area. Another example is housekeeping and hygiene. So cleaning equipment. So we want racks on the walls. We want cleaning equipment in good condition. So no bristles falling off, etc. Stored off the floor in racks like this. Hose pipes on the floor. They should have a gun, ideally, and should be on a rack and stored off the floor. So that's not good. So score again of 1 or 2 for this. Then I mentioned filling areas. We look at specific items on the filler. It might be filling heads, perspex guards, conveyor. So we might pick out items we want to check in this area. Could be tanks as well, pipe work, floors, drains, walls, lighting. So I'm happy with my filler area there. So at all times we need to consider, are items in good condition? Are they clean? Do they represent a risk to food safety? Are there loose items that could fall into product? I've got a third page on this factory GMP audit form. And there's 2 tables. The first table is to total up all the scores. So we take the total of the scores and divide by the maximum total score to get an average score for the area. So 2.83 in this case. And what we do then is use that to compare areas, but also to demonstrate improvement and trends in the future. And there's another table at the bottom. So I've got all the parts on one form. This is for corrective actions and follow-up, and documented the non-conformance, what needs to be done, the person responsible, target completion date completed, and then a sign-off. So an inspection program must assess good manufacturing practice standards, including the factory environment and processing equipment. There needs to be an inspection schedule, define criteria, responsibility, reports, documented corrections and corrective actions, communication to relevant staff, and reporting of the results to management review. Okay, it's question and answer time. So we take questions on inspections first, and then after that we'll throw it open to any general food safety questions.
I haven't seen a question so far. So
right. Okay.
Any questions on inspections, just pop them in the sidebar. If not, as Tony said, anything, free for all, really.
Literally.
At this point, I'll tell you what, while we're waiting for some questions, I'll just put the internal audit training in the sidebar if you want to discuss that, or should wait till the end?
No, I could do that now. I was just, I'll come to that. I just need to skip a couple of slides, but okay. We do an internal audit training, which does include inspection training, The next live webinar, I think, is in December now, but it's available via the recording. And it's 4 hours of training, quite a lot of detail in there. It's got a training exercise or an internal audit exercise in there as well, quite a nice one. And then at the end, you take a multiple choice exam, and we give you, on passing that, we give you an IFSQN Academy certificate, and that's all for $97 a person. So great value.
Okay. Okay.
So you can, you can link out that by clicking on the offers tab there. Yeah.
Okay, I will read out a question from Mauro.
Okay.
Is it necessary to have ISO 19001 qualification for the inspection?
No. No.
Kristen, when you say, I wish there was an option for CC, is that credit card for the training? Because if so, you can pay with credit card. So it's not necessary to have ISO 19001 qualification for the inspection?
No, I think, no, it isn't. No. You just need auditor training. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Francis Wallington, what is the distinction between audit and inspection?
Yeah, I think internal audit tends to cover food safety programs, so all the parts of your food safety management system and procedures. So the control of and management of food safety, which will include the whole system from management commitment, responsibility and authority, complaint management, document control, record control, things like that. So the inspections are focused on the good practices, whether they could be good manufacturing practices or good agricultural practices or good storage and distribution practices. So the inspections focus on that, on the design of the plant and equipment, the standard of the plant and equipment, what condition it is, and if it's clean, and also making sure there aren't any broken items or loose items that can contaminate the product.
Okay. VG Ravi Kumar. Any standards applicable for inspections other than BRC, IFS, and SQF clauses?
Well, I think generally you should be, regardless of if you're getting a food safety certification or not, you should be doing inspections as part of a good practice, a good manufacturing practice, to ensure your products are safe for your own peace of mind and as part of your own internal food safety management system. People get certification to get their systems approved as being at a certain level, which is acceptable, and then we get some credit for that from our customers that are obviously are more likely to buy our products if we've got a certification than buy from somebody that hasn't. But the other standard you haven't mentioned in there is the FSC SSC 22000 standard, or certification scheme, should I say, which includes ISO 9001, the technical specifications or PRPs such as ISO 22002 Part 1 for manufacturing, and also the scheme additional requirements.
Okay. Question from Benita. Can you recommend a root cause method for small issues that are corrected immediately? Full 5 whys seems excessive.
Well, if you're correcting something immediately and you don't think it needs a root cause analysis, then I wouldn't do it. I would put what we would call is a correction. You fix the problem and you document the problem and the solution. It's a correction, not a corrective action with a root cause. So for some items, that's what's needed. We don't want 100 things from an inspection to be dealt with. If we can deal with it straight away, we don't want to create a mountain of paper.
For sure. Angela, we use daily and weekly cleaning logs with a supervisor sign off for each task. Will that help prove part of our internal inspection? Well,
yeah, and it's sort of thing we want to be looking at that and going, is somebody completing those logs, and is the supervisor checking them? But also we want to be looking at items that are on that log and checking in if they're clean and making sure that people are signing them off as cleaned and as acceptable after they're clean, to make sure they're doing their job. So in our inspections, we might want to look at that as well.
Okay. Question from Ayaka. How can we use AI tools to better our inspections in the food industry?
Well, I don't know. I don't tend to use AI tools because it's already in my head. So I don't know how you use AI tools. You can search on Google and it will come up and tell you. But I'm telling you, based on 30 years experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can't argue with that. Okay. Nareka, yes, the slides will be available. The recording slide certificate will be emailed around afterwards. Roland is asking, what micro testing do you like to see for compressed airlines?
Yeah, I just do standard testing, which is like which would be enteros, yeast and mold, and TVCs. But somebody does. Who is it that does the compressed air testing webinars on the Trace Analytics? So if you want to, my answer is I normally do TVC, yeast and mold, enteros. If you want to know more, have a look on the website, and Trace Analytics do far more detailed information regarding compressed air testing.
Yeah.
The other part. So they're the experts. The other important thing to do is make sure that you're testing your air at the point of use. So if you're using on a filling machine or packing machine to blow there, then that's where you should be testing it.
Yeah, we've got. We will be sending out actually by email. We've got every single webinar that we've ever done on an Excel, so we will be circulating the link to that. And on there, you can filter it by Trace Analytics, and there are a number of webinars related to food safety of compressed air. So just watch out for that. Let's have a look. Elisa is asking about lead auditor training. We don't do any of them. We don't have plans, do we, Tony?
No, because it's a 5-day. Lead auditor tends to be a 5-day training course now, and it's also linked up with a standard. So there could be an SQF lead auditor, BRC lead auditor, FSSC lead auditor, IFS lead auditor, and we wouldn't do that range of training on a lead auditor. Okay. But if you're managing an audit team, then I would recommend it certainly. But if you're just looking to train your team of internal auditors, then the IFS QN training for $97 a person is perfectly acceptable for GFSI benchmark standard certification scheme. So the likes of BRC, SQF, FSS. C22000.
Okay, thanks, Tony. If you ask a question, could you please mark it as a question so that it goes into the Q&A stream rather than the chat, or else it might get missed. Question from Lulia. Same standards are the same standards applicable for retail inspections?
Some standards do have their own retail standard, which will have good practices in retail. So, there are retail standards out there. Although I don't profess to be an expert in retail businesses.
Okay. Crystal's asking if we have a food packaging internal audit course. But
well, the internal audit course is generally based on auditing, but it's more food. It's definitely more food specific than packaging, but it would be useful in terms of learning or internal audit techniques for packaging, people that work in packaging, but it's geared more towards food manufacturing.
Having been in packaging for many years and having been sat through Tony's internal audit course many times, I would say it's very useful, even for somebody in food packaging. The principles, the processes, the tools, techniques, the whole thing is really helpful. Okay. Narika, what are some innovative ways that you can get persons to buy more into the food safety culture, both on the floor employees and top management?
Well, let's start, Narika, from top management, because that's where it should start. And these are the sort of people that should be saying, this is how we do things here. So food safety culture comes from the top, and that's where it should come from. It isn't your or my job to get top manager on board with that. That's my thing. But I think if you need to point it out, then you can show in clauses of certification standards where the emphasis that these days is on senior management to plan and ensure the development of a food safety culture. In terms of employees, interacting with them, offering reward schemes, suggestion boxes, regular communication, team briefs, reviews, get them on board with objectives, give them information. I used to give people information on the microbiological performance of products and conformance of product they were producing on their production lines and the complaint levels on their production lines. So feedback on useful information where they can contribute more to the quality and food safety of the product.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question from Maro. Is it necessary to guarantee the independency of the auditor of the area inspected?
Ideally, you'd have an independent internal auditor for the areas the areas covered. Certainly for internal audits and inspections, it's still better if you can do, but in some cases inspections are carried out by people that work in the area, and the reason for that is they're carrying out critical checks on plant and equipment that needs to be done on a regular basis. So somebody might be doing an inspection of the production line prior to startup to make sure there aren't any food safety risks. So if they've got, say, a glass gauge on the equipment, we want to make sure it's not broken before we start off, and we want to know it's still intact at the end of the production shift. So that's where you will do some inspections, and they don't need to be independent, but there needs to be a supervisor following those checks up. And obviously you want to have a look at those items when you do your monthly inspections.
Okay. Question from Tamalika. In my plant, we have pretty standard GMP policy, but some members want to remove not wearing nail polish policy as it is required to wear gloves during food handling. But I'm not comfortable as not all employees follow hand gloves policy at all times. Please advise.
Yeah. I see this quite a lot on the forums as well. And I think whether you wear gloves, because some people might wear gloves and other people don't, and then it's only people that wear gloves can wear nail varnish, and people in other areas that don't wear gloves can't have nail varnish, and it all starts to become confusing. And so my policy is no nail varnish, whether you got gloves on or not, and it's consistent across the site. As long as you're fair and consistent, people respect the rules. When you start making up rules that cause confusion and seem unfair, that's when it all goes bottoms up.
Yeah. Question from Nuha. Is it compulsory for companies to create risk and severity table as a reference for audit penalties?
Is it compulsory for companies to create risk and severity table as a reference for audit penalties? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that.
Okay.
I mean, if you mean in defining what is the level of non-conformance, yes, then you need to define what is a critical non-conformance, what is a major non-conformance, what is a minor non-conformance, and what is the score for that. I think that's what you're gearing at. But if it isn't, then clarify your question, please.
Yeah. Okay. Elisa, can we change CCP to OPRP if frequency of the CCP is very low or it is well controlled?
I think it depends on what it is and how critical it is. Because at the end of the day, you've decided it's a CCP, and usually it's because you've got defined critical limits. So let's say like pasteurization, your defined CCP or critical limit and control measure is to ensure the product's pasteurized for a minimum of 71.7 for a minimum of 15 seconds. Quite specific. Whereas OPRPs tend to be less specific and might be observations and such as checking a filter to ensure it's in place and intact before you start running a whole production run, but it isn't monitored as frequently as the CCP. It's checked at the start and end of a shift, maybe. So it depends on what it is and how critical you think it is to the product safety.
Okay. Bernard, inspection of cleaning, looking under tables, dismantling machines. Okay, seems very important. Oh, is that a question? Inspection of cleaning, looking under tables, dismantling machines. Okay, question mark.
Some people do that periodically. I used to supply Marks and Spencers with products, and they used to send food safety technicians in to swab your plant and equipment, and they used to insist on you opening electrical cabinets to see what oddities the engineers have got in there, taking the covers off machinery and inspecting inside to make sure they're all clean. So yeah, and having seen what can be inside some machinery, I think dismantling machines periodically is quite important.
Okay. Question from Philippe. We are an SQF certified facility. We use Red Zone software and did monthly internal audits, graded pass, fail, need improvement, and not applicable. Is it these internal audits comparable to any systems you talk besides SQF?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, monthly internal audits is fine, but you also need to do inspections. But internal audits monthly, with other standards, BRC, for example, specifies 4 audit dates throughout the year, and it's more specific on internal audit requirements. FSC 22,000 scheme a bit less so. So there are more internal audit requirements in BRC and more specific, and they expect your internal audits to be spread out throughout the year.
Benita, GMP areas are warehouse areas with no open product required to be GMP. How do you handle auditors and visitors in these areas with GMP requirements?
Okay, well, there's with warehouses, it's good storage and distribution practices, we tend to call them. So even though these are enclosed product areas, we still want a certain degree of control in them. So you would still apply hygiene and housekeeping rules, or most people do it in their warehouses, with protective clothing, jewelry rules, hand washing. So visitors and auditors in those areas need to comply with the same rules as personnel. You need to when they sign in, they need to sign in and acknowledge the site hygiene rules, and they need to be normally they're supervised or accompanied and follow those hygiene rules and be given clean protective equipment to wear.
Okay, Bernard. Inspections regarding handling allergens are also important, e.g. cleaning machines, tables after allergen contact. What frequency would you assign to that? Monthly?
Definitely not monthly. If you've got issues regarding handling of allergens and cross-contamination between products, then you need to clean directly after the allergen-containing product and before the non-allergen products. So these are specific cleaning and inspections and testing, because you might need to test the standard of cleaning with an ATP swab or a protein swab or an ELISA swab for that particular allergen. So this is the things I'm talking about here today generally are general hygiene and housekeeping standards. What you're referring to with handling allergens are almost like preventive controls or critical controls or process controls, where you're required to clean to a standard to remove the hazard of a specific hazard of an allergen, whereas good practices tend to be for general hazards.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, getting there. Lots of questions. Have we done this one? No, it's just a comment that. Question from Nuha. To clarify, what I meant by risk table was a matrix of the likelihood of non-compliances happening versus severity risk to products. That table. That's going back to
Yeah, likelihood of non-compliance. How are you deciding of the likelihood of non-compliance? This sounds more like a HACCP related rather than a risk related to inspections or internal audits. The risk is generally you schedule your internal audits and inspections down to risk. So you would inspect an open product area before you would inspect a filling area, let's say, before you would inspect an enclosed area such as a warehouse. That's a principle. And the same thing works for internal audits. You would audit a food safety related procedure such as metal detection, glass control, or general HACCP before you would something like a complaint management procedure or general management procedures.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. I think this one from Bernard, is this answered, or has he put a clarification in the inspection regarding handling allergens? Also important. What frequency was assigned? Monthly. Of course, daily or more. My question was inspection, if correct, handling monthly.
Inspections and allergen control are separate things, Bernard. So I've said you based your inspections based on the risk to the area. Regarding handling allergens, that's different. That's allergen management and managing a specific hazard.
Okay.
If you think, yeah, I mean, if you're happy with your allergens and you've got an open product allergen management and you've got an open product area, but your allergen controls are okay, then a monthly inspections are fine.
Okay.
If that's what the answer you're looking for.
Tamalika's just asking, is there a webinar about risk analysis? If not, can you do one where it covers A to Z about risk analysis? I'm not sure if we have. I think we might have. We've done, since the last 10 years, we must have done, way over 250 to 300 webinars. So, like I say, we will be issuing that around that Excel. So you can have a look on that, see if there's anything. If not, then just drop us an email and let us know. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll remove the offer from. If there's any more questions, just put them in the sidebar now while we just can talk about the FSC, the manuals if you want. Before you do that, the internal auditor there, I'll link that as well in the follow-up email with the slides, recording, etc. So if you are interested, you can look at it from the email. Okay, I put the
right. So we just like to mention that we offer a range of implementation packages for sites that are wishing to achieve certification to a GFSI benchmark standard. These packages include document templates and other useful tools. So we do packages for BRC, SQF, SSC, FSSC 22000, IFS, and some ISO 22000 ones. So as an example, the SSSC 22000 Food Safety Management System for food manufacturers implementation package includes a comprehensive set of editable food safety management system procedures written in Microsoft Word format that covers ISO 22000, TS ISO 22002 Part 1, prerequisite programs for food manufacturers, and FSSC 22000 certification scheme additional requirements. There are quite a range of food safety record templates. There's about 10 different training presentations in there, including ASUP internal auditor, but specific ones to 22000, 22002. There's additional HACCP documentation, a thing we call a HACCP calculator and instructions, which is an Excel file where you can hold all your HACCP information. There's other implementation assistance, which includes tools, including checklists, instructions, guidance. There's a startup guide to help you navigate the contents, a comprehensive implementation workbook, and I provide online technical support for people that buy the packages to ensure they are able to implement them and give assistance and clear up or provide guidance on getting certified, basically. That's the aim.
Okay, super. Right, yeah, and again, I'll include that to look at your leisure in the follow-up email as well. Okay. there are no further questions at this time.
Right. What I think we will do is we'll have a break in August and do the next one in September.
Yep, sounds good.
So, yeah. So.
Yeah, excellent.
That will be the plan.
Superb. Right, I'll just drop your certificate in the sidebar as well, so you can grab it now if you want. Yeah, so thank you very much, Tony, and thanks for the 200 people who've joined live and those who watch this recording as well. Yeah, appreciate your attendance, and we'll follow up with an email in the next half an hour or so.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thanks very much. Cheers. Thank you. Bye.